Sinclair Broadcast Group, connecting people with content everywhere. This is a Beyond the Podium special, Maryland's 4th Congressional District.
Thank you for joining me for this Beyond the Podium special, Maryland's 4th Congressional District. I'm Scott Thuman. Tonight, we are giving you an up-close look at both candidates running for this seat, and that is because they're both here to speak to us. Democratic Congressman Glenn Ivey and Republican candidate George McDermott. Over the next 30 minutes, I'll ask both the same questions, to be fair, and in a 10-minute session per candidate. They'll have up to 1 minute to answer each question. Our hope is to give you, the viewers, a better understanding of where the candidates stand on important issues in Maryland. We did a coin flip, and Congressman Glenn Ivey is up first. So let's get started. Congressman, thanks for being here. A top issue for voters remains the economy and their personal financial situation. We've endured inflation. We've seen swings in the stock market. We see predictions of a recession come and go. There are countless indications that people are nervous. As a member of Congress, what would you do to stabilize the economy, ease inflation, and calm our fears?
Well, I think that the Biden-Harris administration has done a good job in many ways, especially dealing with the macroeconomic challenges that we faced. And, unemployment's down to all-time lows with respect to the African-American community. Inflation went up and was very high, but it's coming back down. I'm hoping that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates in the very near future, hopefully in September. So that should be helpful as well for people who need to borrow money, as buy houses and cars and the like. I think it's also important too, though, that Vice President Harris and her campaign has talked about providing additional funds to help people buy their house, first-time home buyers, also to help with student loan debt, repaying some of that. I think is going to be important as well. So I think we need to make sure we're doing both. We have to help the overall economy continue to move in the right direction, but recognize that not everyone benefited from that, and so we're going to have to make special efforts to help individuals, to help them with their pocketbooks. And I think Vice President Harris has got a good plan to do that. Hopefully we will be able to get the control of the House again and can support those efforts. Right.
Now, you mentioned housing. According to the University of Maryland, back in 2013, half of all U.S. homes on the market were considered affordable using that standard 30% of salary ratio. By 2023, researchers showed that number was drastically cut, basically in half to 16%. And the U.S. Census Bureau says nearly half of renters spent about a third of their income just on rent. So tell me specifically, if you can, in just under a minute here, what would you do to make living more affordable?
Well, there's two fronts on that. One is buying houses and one is paying rent. Prince George's County, my wife is the chair of the Prince George's County Council, and they recently set caps on some rent at 3% and 5%, depending on certain scenarios. Doesn't cover all housing, like new housing, because we want to encourage the development and construction of new apartments to rent. But I think that's a significant step in the right direction in Prince George's County. I think the federal government's going to make some efforts, if Vice President Harris wins, as I mentioned, to help first-time home buyers buy houses. And we have to help with construction. I think there need to be federal incentives to encourage developers and builders to build new houses so that there's a greater supply to reduce the cost.
Let's move on to immigration. Once again, a top concern for voters. Maryland, one of those states that has seen a larger per capita growth than many others. I was just down at the border in Arizona getting a better look myself. What tactics do you support when it comes to border security? Former President Trump's vowing to finish the wall, begin mass deportations. You've got Vice President Harris who says she would hire thousands more border agents, crack down on drug and human trafficking. What's the answer?
Well, we had a good one that was floating around. The Senate had a bipartisan bill led by a very conservative senator named Lankford from Oklahoma. Had Democrats supporting it as well. The bill got killed, though, because presidential candidate Donald Trump thought it would hurt his chances to get elected, even though the bill would have added, I think, about 1,500 more Border Patrol agents, additional judges to hear these cases to get rid of the backlog that slows these court cases down, to get more officials out there to handle these cases. But I hope that Vice President Harris wins. We can move forward with legislation that will put more resources down at the border so we can address these problems. And by the way, I sit on the Homeland Security Committee, and even though many of these Border Patrol agents support President Trump, to a person, they've always come in and said, we need more resources, we need more resources. I hope we can move in that direction.
All right, this month in Maryland, we saw a 15-year-old shot and killed in a high school bathroom at the hands of a fight with a 16-year-old in Joppa. Tell us what, if anything, you would do, given the opportunity, to improve security at schools and better protect your youngest residents from gun violence.
Well, gun violence is a challenge I've been dealing with not only back when I was state's attorney, but when I was an assistant U.S. attorney back in the early 90s in Washington. One of the things we did, we just got a grant, a little under $2 million to help with the county's efforts to reduce gun violence, and we're focusing on the youth. And as I did when I was state's attorney and we had dramatic drops in homicides then, we're trying to make sure we focus not only on the punishment side, but on the carrot side too. You want to have intervention and prevention programs, especially for the young people. Let's try and get them out of trouble before they get too deeply into it. Obviously, when they cross that line, if they pull a trigger or a rape is committed or something like that, they've got to do the time based on the crime. But we want to make sure we give them every chance we can and every opportunity, whether it's school, vocational training, or the like, every opportunity to get back on track. We need coaches, pastors, neighbors, everybody, all hands on deck to make that move forward.
All right. According to KFF, formerly the Kaiser Family Foundation, about half of U.S. adults say it's difficult to afford health care. 1 in 4 have had problems paying for it in the past year. What would you do to help bring down the cost of health care for Marylanders?
Well, one of the things I think we need to do is continue to expand and build on Obamacare. Now, ironically, the Republican colleagues, and if you saw the debate between Trump and Harris just the other day, he's still talking about repealing Obamacare. They took 60 votes to try and do it, even though Obamacare expanded health care coverage to tens of millions of more Americans here in the United States. So I think we need to make sure we don't go back to the days where we had, people could get excluded for pre-existing conditions and the like. Make sure we continue to build it out. That's going to take some additional funding at the federal level, but I think we can do that. In addition, I think there's state and local efforts we can make, in part with federal grants to assist on that front to help with health care. And I think we also need to do things, and I'm doing this personally, to try and get ahead of some of these conditions that run very deep in our community. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, the like, diabetes. We need to try and address those at the front end so we don't get in problems in the back end.
All right. You aim to join, or in your case, continue in a deeply divided Congress. Rhetoric is often heated. Debates become personal. Progress hard to come by, and compromise seems almost unheard of. Can there be any notable bipartisanship? Can the temperature be lowered enough?
It's hard to say. There's a strong wing in the Republican Party called the Freedom Caucus that is very extreme. They're the ones that keep trying to push to shut down the government. For example, they're the ones that are leading the push to force the United States to default on its debts under the leadership of the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Democrats have been able to block those efforts. He's essentially been the de facto speaker in making sure that we move forward and keeping the government open, paying our debts, and just keeping the basic functions of the government moving in the right direction. Even in this highly partisan environment, I've been able to pass 2 bills. We've got a couple more that we hope to pass soon to try and make a difference. But also, more importantly, we've been able to get major projects to the district. FBI headquarters is coming to Prince George's County. Bureau of Engraving is going to come. That's a $1.5 billion project. And we're looking to expand that and build out other efforts here in the county to expand our economic base.
All right, lastly here, you have a say in how America affects the rest of the world. America, and specifically Congress, has given more than $175 billion worth of aid to Ukraine. Do you want to keep that funding going? Or is there a point at which you say, we can't keep bankrolling that war against Russia, even though the argument is that you have to stop Putin and protect democracy?
Yeah, I think it's important to continue the fight against Putin and Russia. Their aggression, I think, has been well documented. The killings in Bucha, I think they killed hundreds of people, tied their hands behind their back, shot them in the back of the heads, and then tried to hide those bodies in mass graves. I think it's pretty well documented, and I really respect the Ukrainian people for standing up and fighting to protect their country in the way that they've had. I also think it's important for the United States to make sure there's no additional encroachment on Europe and our NATO allies. I think making sure we stop them in Ukraine protects Europe from that. And I think it's important that President Biden's been able to strengthen the NATO coalition and make sure those countries step up and put more in support of Ukraine and carry their fair share of the load there. So I'm very strongly supportive of the Biden-Harris administration on this front.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate that. We're going to hear from your opponent, George McDermott, and then we will get to closing statements. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our Beyond the Podium special with the two candidates running for Maryland's 4th Congressional District. You just heard from Congressman Ivey, and now it's George McDermott's turn. Again, each candidate is answering the same set of questions in a 10-minute period. Candidates have 1 minute to answer each question. Mr. McDermott, thanks for being here. A top issue for voters remains the economy and their personal financial situation. We've endured inflation. We've seen swings in the stock market. We see predictions of a recession come and go. There are countless indications that people are nervous. As a member of Congress, what would you do to stabilize the economy, ease inflation, and calm our fears?
Well, unfortunately, calming our fears won't get the job done. Just looking at the national debt clock today, in 2000, before 9/11, we had $2.2 trillion in debt, and today we have $35.6 trillion in debt, and we're paying $5 trillion a year in interest on it. So it takes some real work to try to bring this back into where it's supposed to be, and Congress has to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse in our government and our court system, because that's the main problem with everything, in my opinion, and I'll pick this up later.
Okay. According to the University of Maryland, back in the year 2013, half of all U.S. homes on the market were considered affordable using the standard 30% of salary ratio. By 2023, research say that number was basically cut in half to 16%. The U.S. Census Bureau says nearly half of renters spend about a third of their income just on rent. Tell me specifically and realistically, what would you do to make living easier, more affordable for Marylanders?
Well, the first thing is we have to address what's happened in the housing market. And once again, you'll hear me talk a lot about the courts. The courts are forcing people out of their homes with, you see it every day, they're trying to steal Elvis Presley's mansion. These forged documents, the Justice Department and the courts are allowing corporate raiders to come in, and lawyers for major banking institutions to submit fraudulent documents into the court and steal people's homes on a daily basis. I mean, it's affecting tens of millions of people. I have a gentleman that I'm helping out in Washington State. They just came in and evicted him from his father's home, and he has all the forensic evidence possible, and yet not one court will allow him his jury trial as he's doing.
Well, yeah, we're going to move on to another top topic here, which is immigration. Once again, a big concern for voters. Maryland, one of those states that's seen a larger growth per capita than many others. I was just at the border in Arizona to get a better look myself. What tactics do you support when it comes to border security? Former President Trump is vowing to finish the wall and begin mass deportations. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris says she'd hire thousands more border agents and crack down on drug and human trafficking. What's the answer?
Well, the fact is everything goes back to immigration. This nation was born on open borders. We, in the 1700s and 1800s, we encouraged people to come in and to give of themselves to help build the Industrial Revolution. Today, we have immigrants coming in with college degrees, with skills that we desperately need in every segment of our society. Why are we locking them up and putting them on welfare when we can actually give them a green card, let them go out, get a job, pay taxes, benefit the community, benefit their families, both here and at home? We have a drastic job shortage in this country, and we need to address it, not by putting people in harm's way.
This month in Maryland, we saw a 15-year-old shot and killed in a high school bathroom in Joppa during a fight with a 16-year-old. Tell us what, if anything, you would do, given the opportunity, to improve security at schools and better protect your youngest residents from gun violence.
Well, first and foremost, you have to stop the members of the House and Senate and the public legislators in the states from accepting dark money and donations from the NRA to fund their campaigns, because that's what they want. As long as they're in the pocket of the National Rifle Association, then they want the legislators to vote out anything that would restrict and save our children from being shot with automatic weapons that only have a place on the battlefield. Every gun in this country, including all these ghost guns, should have a registered number, just like a driver's tag on a car, with every one of them being insured. That way, these lawyers, when they go into court, they have to prove that they have a right to do this to our citizens.
According to KFF, formerly the Kaiser Family Foundation, about half of U.S. adults say it's difficult to afford health care, and 1 in 4 have had problems paying for it in the past year. What would you do to help bring down these costs for Marylanders?
Well, it goes back to right now you have to address your legislative bodies and get the dark money out of their campaigns. And we need to cut the campaign cycle down from 2 years to where they have less than 9 months. It's absolutely ludicrous that we're spending $200 to $300 million to get a president elected for a job that he's only going to get less than $15 million a year from. This is a waste. We have to address the core matter here and get dark money out of our politics, because my family, my children, my grandchildren are having a hard time surviving. I'm having a hard time surviving.
You aim to join a deeply divided Congress. Rhetoric is often heated, debates often become personal, progress is hard to come by, compromise is almost unheard of. Can there be any notable bipartisanship? Can the temperature be lowered enough?
It's not can the temperature be lowered enough. The temperature has to be, when you walk into the chambers and you vote on something, you have to leave your party affiliation hanging on the door outside that chamber. And your only duty and responsibility is to uphold the Constitution of these United States of America and to protect all citizens, not just your constituents. All congressmen say, well, I only have my... No, you were elected as part of 535 members of Congress to represent all citizens, both here and around the world. And until that happens, and until we start holding these public officials accountable for their crimes that they commit while in office, we're still going to be in decline.
Finally, you have a say in how America affects the rest of the world. As a member of Congress, you would. America, and specifically Congress, has given more than $175 billion worth of aid to Ukraine. Do you want to keep that funding going, or is there a point at which you say we can't keep bankrolling the war against Russia, even though the argument is that you have to stop Putin and protect democracy?
Well, yes, that's the bottom line. So we've given them that money. How many American lives have we lost? How many people did we lose going into Iraq and Iran, and fighting Iran? The balance of life, you can't put a cost on life. We had to survive with letting our military go to win a war, not just to go in there and to act as peacekeepers. If you're going to go to war, like Ukraine is going to war to save their democracy and save their lands, there's no reason that we should not be funding them, no matter what, because we're not sending our families members over there to die as we did in Afghanistan, as we did in Iraq.
Mr. McDermott, thank you. Thank you for your time. We'll be right back with the closing statements from the candidates. Stay with us. And we'll conclude this Beyond the Podium special tonight with the closing statements from these two candidates vying for that seat on Capitol Hill representing Maryland's 4th Congressional District. Our coin flip determined that Congressman Glenn Ivey gives the first closing statement. You have 1 minute.
I want to thank you for putting this debate together, and I thank you for the chance to come on tonight. Especially want to thank the people of the 4th District of Maryland for giving me the chance to represent you in Congress. And I look forward to having another 2 years with your good graces and support to do it again. We're very proud of what we've accomplished in the first 2 years. The FBI headquarters coming to Greenbelt, I think, was a big opportunity for Prince George's County, a big step in the right direction. We did it as a team working with the Maryland delegation. There's more to come. We've got a research triangle concept in northern Prince George's that builds on NASA, NOAA, Agriculture Research Center. We have a variety of assets that really position us well to do work on cybersecurity and continued work in aerospace and aeronautics. Let's build that out and draw new businesses and build on our base. And we'll keep working to address guns, schools, inflation, and high prices at the federal level as well. So thanks again for giving me the chance to represent you, and God bless.
Mr. McDermott, you're up next. You have 1 minute for your closing statement.
Anybody who knows me, this is my 10th campaign running for office, knows that I speak the truth, and it hasn't changed one bit in the last 20 years I've been running. I am sick and tired of politicians who will not stand up for their constituents, will not allow constituents into their office who have been robbed of their rights, liberties, and properties, and who refuse to address the corruption in our nation's courts. I'm here. I have asked for the impeachment, indictment, and charges against over 120 state and federal judges. I've argued in almost every, and I've argued 3 jury trials pro se, 2 jury trials pro se myself, and won both cases against the mob. I think the American Bar Association is the greatest existential threat to democracy that this nation will ever face.
And a reminder about some important voting dates in Maryland. Early voting will take place between Thursday, October 24th and Thursday, October 31st. You may request a mail-in ballot by mail or fax by Tuesday, October 29th, or in person up through Election Day on November 5th. Maryland does allow same-day registration when voting in person during early voting and on Election Day. I'd like to thank Congressman Ivey and Mr. McDermott for being here tonight, and thank you for watching. I'm Scott Thuman. Have a wonderful evening.